everyone, welcome to the Northland Artists Conversation. I am your host, Mark Kelly. I hope everyone out there is doing really, really well. It's, what are we? We are in September when we film this podcast, and it's a bit of flu, bit of a cold running around at the moment. So if you hear me sort of clicking or clacking, I've got a cough lolly in my mouth, so I do apologise in advance. But I hope you're doing well and you're being safe and you're looking after yourself and your loved ones. It's always really important this time of year. The artist that we're going to sit down and have a chat with today, Hannah Mitchell. Wow, she is an amazing lady. She is multidisciplined as an artist, and she was super cool to sit down and talk with. She talks about her experiences sort of as an artist when she was younger, working through, and I think she said she did her first piece of art was painting on fabric so she could send it to a friend in the States, and then kind of going from there. Some really cool things we talked about. I learned a lot, and I mean a lot out of this one. Just a lot of super cool things and some absolutely amazing ideas and concepts, and some cool events that she's put on in the past and what she's got coming up. Just absolutely amazing. So if you're watching this on YouTube, please remember to like, share and subscribe. Leave a comment, really appreciate it. It is absolutely valuable for us. And if you're watching this on Facebook, you've got one of those emojis that you can use. And if you're listening to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, please leave a review. Those sorts of things really help us. They help the algorithm, and they make sure that we can get pushed up in the feed as well. So without further ado, let's sit down and have a conversation with Hannah Mitchell. Let's start. Hannah Mitchell.
That is me.
That is you.
Or I'm known as that name, sure.
You are known as...
At least in some places.
Some places. I am known in some places by a lot of other names. But that's okay. Welcome to the Northland Artists Conversation. Thank you very much for coming in and sitting down with us today. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honour to be here.
Oh, the honour is ours, honestly. It's lovely to have artists come in and sit down and talk with us and share their story. And you're obviously quite a multifaceted artist as well. So, you have your fingers in a lot of creative pies. So I'm looking forward to sort of diving into some of those and going, where did that come from? What inspired that? And how did we get there? That's really cool.
I'm a Gemini, jack of all trades, master of none. So I've done a lot of things.
Are you a Gemini?
I am a Gemini.
Oh, that's crazy. That's cool. Oh, yeah, interesting. So, a really weird fact popped into my head, but we'll leave that for now. I'll come back to that. We'll talk about that when we take a break. You're currently, how would you describe your art, you in the art space? Because you do fire stuff, you do stuff with doilies, which is what we were talking about before, but you're also a singer and other things. What sort of artistic expressions and endeavours do you sort of do at the moment?
Right at the very moment, I'm more around facilitating other people's art. So
okay.
I work at the Quarry Arts Centre. I'm in charge of the gallery, so I'm putting up people's exhibitions and taking them down and all that kind of stuff. So over the last few years, my art form has been less in creating physical objects and more around creating experiences. So not only in the gallery, but during COVID, I worked with a group of people to create online Zoom experiences where we went to the moon and we went under the water. I didn't write about that in there, sorry.
No.
I also am a big goer at festivals or bringing festivals down into the community, so we can talk about that later. But I guess I still dabble in all of these things, and I was very excited on the weekend. I actually got my sewing machine out.
Did you?
progress. But a lot of my struggle at the moment is that I just have too much stuff and too many projects, and so I'm like frozen in this, like trying to navigate all the stuff. So I've been working on minimalism a lot this year to try and minimize my personal belongings so I can maximize my art. So that's a work in progress.
It's such a really interesting concept. There's a really good documentary on minimalism.
There's a lot,
Yeah, that I watched a couple of years ago. I was like, living with, like, what was it? There was one guy, the documentary was like split into different people and going through their lives. And there was one guy who lives with like one of the essentials that he needs, like one pair of trousers, one t-shirt.
100 items in total.
Yeah. And I was just like, that's a really fascinating
They call that
way to
extreme
live.
minimalism.
Is that extreme?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. But I just thought it was such a unique way to live. And then you've got characters such as Jack Reacher, and unfortunately portrayed terribly by Tom Cruise in the movie, but a very good TV series, where Jack Reacher has no fixed abode, no bank account, no social media presence, nothing. He just lives by the clothes he wears and the money he has in his wallet, and just kind of goes around. It's a very interesting concept. What inspired you to head down the path of minimalism?
Being in the whangare rental market and having to move houses regularly.
Right.
Yes. And so we had 3 years in one house, and during that 3 years we had accumulated a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And moving it all was a big, it was a problem.
Yeah.
And it's a continual thing that I've had to confront through my life, because I do move around a lot, but I still am continually, not so much now because I'm learning my habits, bringing stuff into my life with big project ideas. They call it a fantasy self of I could make this, or I could make this, and this part of the future me is going to be really good at this. I've got to collect these items to be really good at that. And then you just don't have time to do all of those things. And so you've just got to be more realistic around how you do stuff. And so I've been finding that I hadn't had enough time to make art.
Yeah.
Because I'm constantly cleaning or moving stuff or thinking about stuff, or I've been working on it for about a year, and I still have a ways to go, but a lot of it is kind of like a mental shift in becoming project oriented, so that you only have the things with you for the project that you're working on at that moment.
Right. Yep.
Not like all these ideas that I have in the future. So I did have 6 large plastic containers of sewing fabrics, projects, ideas.
Yeah.
And over the last 1 year, I've managed to get myself down to just 2 totes.
Okay, yeah.
And if I don't finish the projects in that by the end of the year or thereabouts, they have to go.
Right, so you really kind of give yourself a creative cutoff point.
I have, yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. There's one project that if I don't get to, I'll hold on to, because it is the next version of the chakra banner that I have brought with me. One of the banners.
Yep.
Because I want this new version to be able to be lit under UV light and to have lights threaded through it, which this one's just static.
Oh, wow.
So it doesn't have the same effect. And so I've collected all the pieces for that, so I'm not going to get rid of them.
Yeah. No, you kind of want to hang on to that. I mean, threading, essentially, what is it, like fiber optics through it to get the light through it? Is that...
Yeah, essentially, but I still need to do a bit of research around that. And if anyone does know how I can do this, because it's made from fabric and I really want it to be travelable, that's part of the purpose in my artwork, is that I can pack a suitcase, go to San Diego like I have, and set up an art installation there. It needs to be able to be foldable and not too fiddly to put. Either it stays on the banner,
yes,
or it's really easy to put on once it's transit.
Yep.
And so I just need a bit of work around that. But yeah, that's the one project that I won't get rid of.
Nice. Well, what a great project to have, though.
Yeah, it's been in my mind for like 4 years, so I should probably do it.
Okay, yeah, you kind of got to hang on to that one, though. At least it's been gestating for a little while.
Yeah, it just requires a lot of hand sewing. And so need to get started.
The interesting concept, fantasy self. I haven't heard of that before, but do quite like it. Elaborate on that a little bit more, and when did you sort of find out about that?
It's part of the rhetoric around if you go onto YouTube and follow decluttering and organizing and minimalism.
Yeah.
There's 3 particular women that I follow, and I followed them individually for a while, and then they turned out that their YouTube algorithms were also working, and they worked out that they worked really well together. So the 3 of them created an online course where the 3 of them would teach. One's really good at decluttering, one's really good at organizing, and one's really good at minimalism.
Okay.
So that's Dawn, Dana, and Cass. And so I bought the online course because I needed help with this whole clutter thing.
Yep.
And they've been awesome. So they've got a whole bunch of terms that you can learn around this subject, but they're the ones that talk about fantasy self.
Right.
So probably in the last year, where they're like me, and what's really great is that they're all slobs. They're all recovering slobs. 2 of them have ADHD. They're not the Marie Kondo who's always been tidy. They're the people who have figured out how to be tidy after they've been really messy for a long time.
Yeah. It sounds like something a lot of guys could learn from.
Hey, if you're happy from learning from women in their mid-30s, then
who cares?
They're awesome.
Yeah, learn from anyone. Because, I mean, I know, speaking for myself, there's a lot of recovering slobs out there. I being one of them. Although in saying that, when, having kids is always a little bit hard.
Yeah. And, it's maybe it doesn't seem to some people that like the clutter stuff is related to art, but it really is, because as artists we have all these ideas and projects all the time. We want to do all of them at the same time.
Yes.
And if we don't control how many projects we get our fingers into, suddenly we have all this stuff that we have to deal with as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that stuff will slow you down from actually doing the projects that you want to do. So my goal is to minimize as much stuff as I can so that I can be more service to the community and do art and bring art and show up.
And I imagine when you've got multiple ideas running through your head and you sort of get to a point where you're trying to spin multiple plates, I imagine mental health can kind of suffer from that sort of thing as well, which is always a bit of a tough one.
Yeah, definitely. And, it's definitely an important subject for us to continually talk about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're very big support. Northland Artists Conversation are very big supporters of 1737, which are very cool.
1737?
Yeah.
Advertise it. I have no idea what that is.
Rockie will put that promo in for this one, but I will quickly talk about it now. 1737 are a free text or calling service, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that you can get in touch with, and you can talk with trained counsellors over the phone, and they can actually help with whatever you're going through right then at that point in time. And if they need to escalate it, they have a wonderful, talented group of psychologists who are on call as well. So with talking with someone, sometimes there is a fear that I don't want people in my community to find out. Like you may be living here in Whangarei, but you might end up speaking with someone in Rotorua or in Invercargill, because it might just be wherever that psychologist that's on call is at that time. It is a very, very good service, criminally underfunded, but absolutely very, very good value for people that do struggle with, depression, anxiety, PTSD, all of that sort of stuff. And a lot of businesses nowadays also have EAP and those sorts of things. So, yeah, it's very cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. I got off quite serious there for just a moment. But I think a good topic to talk about. Your journey into arts. Having gone through your notes, you weren't naturally, or were you, a really creative person right from a young age?
I've definitely been creative and have used art a little bit, but when I was growing up, I thought art was being really good to be being able to draw really well.
I was the same.
And that was definitely what art was like when I went to high school.
Yes, agreed.
Very much drawing things. And compared to the people around me, I was not great, and I'm still not great at still life.
Yeah,
It doesn't excite me at all. Like, why would I want to draw that?
I used to be able to draw the side of cars really well, like cars side on, but they'd all end up looking like Knight Rider.
So I guess I learned embroidery when I was young, and I definitely did some creative stuff with that. thanks to my nana and my mum, who are embroiderers. And I definitely painted on fabric as a gift to a friend.
Oh, wow.
Well before I would have called myself an artist, but it was when she was doing, she was in the USA, and I wanted to paint her a picture of Auckland landscape. That's where I grew up.
Yeah.
Because that's where we were from, and so I had piha and different things. But I didn't want to do it I didn't want to fold it, and so like in my mind, it's like, what can I send? What can I paint on that I don't have to fold? And so it was fabric, because you can just roll it up.
Of course.
And it doesn't matter if it gets squashed. Obviously, it's ideal if it doesn't, but if it gets squashed, it's not the end of the world.
Yes, absolutely.
It bounces back. So
yep.
So that was my first memory of working with fabric in that way, but specifically for travel purposes as well. But it wasn't really until I was with my kid's father that I really started doing art, because the father liked to sketch a lot.
Oh, cool.
Draw all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And so I just, joined in, basically.
Nice.
Yeah. And then the installation stuff started happening after I was given a bag of doilies that my kid's father's grandmother, she had died.
Right. Yes.
And so I was given this plastic bag of doilies, and some of them she had made herself. And when I pulled out one that had been made herself, someone else told me that. So I was told that it was made by her, and when I pulled it out, and you can insert some pictures in here, because I ended up sewing it onto a banner.
Rockie will insert some pictures of doilies just there.
It's super, super intricate, and so as I stretched it out, I was like, well, we have to honour this artwork. We can't leave it in a plastic bag.
No.
And so I ended up making some sacred banners out of those doilies. And then I started making artwork, Basically, I took those, they were altar banners. I think in my mind I must have seen by then the Bloom documentaries that are about transformational festivals.
Okay.
And that is how I learned about Burning Man as well.
Right,
but this documentary series talks about how transformational festivals are transforming people, because they're giving people the sense of community and art and music.
Absolutely.
And there's this sacred spiritual part to them as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was this, it's a snapshot in one of the episodes where they show someone who has built a sacred area inside a forest, and I was like, holy crap, I want to do that.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
So I made these doily banners as the altar banners, so an altar would be set up in between the two.
Yes.
And then so that's kind of how it spiraled. And then before that, I had I'm telling the story a bit out of order, actually.
That's fine. It's what we're here for.
So that's the doilies. And during our break, I'll show you just how intricate they are, because they're really quite crazy.
Well, it's interesting. Myself and people sort of around a certain age will know doilies from their grandparents.
Yes, that's right.
And when we were talking before, you were saying, doilies hand-stitched and stretched. Now, I had two grandmothers. The grandmother that passed away the last, she lived in San Francisco and Sydney, and she never had anything to do with doilies. She was she used to hang out with Angus Young's wife. Angus Young, the singer, or the guitarist for AC/DC. So that was her lifestyle. Mm-hmm. But my other nana, who lived in Hawera, she was a doily fanatic.
Really?
But I never knew how they were made or anything like that. So when you're saying, you could have done them on the sewing machine, but it wouldn't have looked quite right. I was like, well, how else do you make doilies?
Well, doilies, no, I was saying you can't make banners by sewing the doilies on with a sewing machine.
Yeah.
But doilies themselves are made by a stitch called tatting, which is a little bit like crochet, but it uses a different kind of needle, and you build, it's kind of a cross between crochet and knitting, I guess, and you build up the loops as you go, and then hook them together as you're going around. So what's really cool about doilies, and I guess crochet is similar, but you are going around in a loop like this as you go around the circle.
Yep. Okay.
And so it's one continuous line, but it's in a sacred geometry circle, I guess.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and what was really fun was that when I came back from Sydney and got to meet Jolene, who I'd already met before but didn't know her art style, and Angela Dawn, who you've had on here already.
Yes, Angela. My goodness, she was amazing.
Yeah, so they both work with doilies as well, and so they're
Really?
yeah. So they're kind of it's beautiful because we're all tapping into this idea of grandmother wisdom, and that it's being those lessons that have been taught through the generations through our grandmothers, and celebrating that through this beautiful sacred geometry of the doilies. So they're really cool.
Oh, that's amazing. I see. A little bit ignorant, but wouldn't have put anything past, given it any sort of more thought. But yeah.
Hang on.
Here we go.
Let's get them
Let's
out
have a look. Let's have a look. This will be quite cool.
Because we need your wow on camera.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've prepared.
I only remember the doilies that Nana used to put like the kettle on. She was wonderful. Oh, let's have a look. Okay. Oh, hello.
Okay, so where are we? This way around.
Okay, let's have you chuck a side over to me. We can actually hold it up to the camera, and we'll shake that all out, and then people can actually see. So, I mean, how cool is that?
So this one here.
Oh, grab your microphone.
So the top.
It is movable, so you can just move it with you.
The top one, that's the one that was made by the great grandmother.
That one.
So when I got it, it was all scrumpled up. You couldn't see the pattern at all. And I think the only way that we would have been able to see the pattern was actually sewing it.
Yeah.
Because there was just no way. It was so old, and it had Yeah.
But
it's so if you have a look at that close up and see every single individual stitch, you'll see how fine it is. And that would have taken a very long time to make because it is so intricate.
Oh, wait. That's not... Holy shit. Oi. I'm glad this is it's not a kids-friendly podcast there, listeners and viewers. That's amazing.
So as you get closer and closer, you realise that there's within what you can see on camera, it looks like one stitch is actually 10.
Well, you look, even just looking within one line, you go, that's a line of fabric. It's not. There's a lot going on there. Holy cow. So that's Grandma's one.
That's Grandma's one.
Then we've got the other ones. Now, are they...
They're not special, particularly. They are the ones that I had matching pairs for.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's really cool.
And then so I've also prepared this one, which is the underside, because I was explaining to you before, is you can't use a sewing machine.
I'll fold that.
That's right.
Politely.
You can't use a sewing machine to stretch these out because you'll see the stitching for one.
Yeah.
But it also won't work because they're diabolical to work with. So it has to be hand stitched, and so I brought.
So you've got the other one.
The underside.
We've got the underside this time, and that is all of the hand stitching on the underside. Wow! Look at that. Look at that, everyone. That's absolutely amazing.
So it takes a lot of commitment to work with doilies.
Commitment is a very appropriate word. That's amazing.
That also required me to get quite a large hoop to be able to work with, like the old school stitching hoops to stretch the fabric out.
Yeah, because it's got to be quite taut to be able to work with it.
It's got to be extremely taut, yeah.
That's amazing.
And then I also, on the chakra banner, which we'll show you later, that is also a lot of that. All the doilies are hand stitched on that because the effect that you get is that you can use the cotton that's exactly the same colour as the doily, and then you don't see the stitches at all. So it's all just hooked in very carefully so that you can't see. And you've got to get the tension right too, so it's not pulling too much. Anyway, it's very intricate, and it's fun to be able to show the actual, what goes into working with them because it takes a long time. Yeah, but just to rewind a little bit, before I made those pieces, what really got me into doing these large installation pieces was painting a Taurus onto a door.
Okay.
And actually, I can send you the photo of the original door. It was a door in my flat. It was the door that went into my bedroom, but also it was the door that was in the lounge. It was a weird house. the main big bedroom, the door was off the lounge.
Yeah. Okay.
So you saw it was like right there in the middle, and it was patchy, and it had been painted a few different colours. It was ugly as.
Yeah.
And I had previously missed out on seeing my favourite artist and his art gallery in New York because I missed it by 2 weeks.
Oh no.
It's very upsetting.
Yeah.
And all the paintings were taken down and they're now relocated, but you still actually can't see them because the gallery has not been, they're purpose building a gallery for his artwork. So this artist's name is Alex Gray.
Wow.
He's a well-known, like a visionary artist. I call it spiritual anatomy because he covers both the real anatomy, because he used to do the drawings inside
like medical exam books?
Medical books.
Yeah, sure.
So he used to do the drawings in that. So you get like super graphic muscles and the bones, but then he's also got like the auras and levels of different energy fields that people have. And so he has he has this really amazing set of paintings, which I've not seen in person yet, but I will, damn it, when it opens. And it's called The Chapel of Sacred Mirrors.
Okay.
And so I think there's 24 paintings, and you start at the very beginning where there is a series of paintings of people in their skin.
Okay.
So they've got male, female. These were painted in the 80s. So male, female, very gender divided. And then different, like I think there might be Asian and African style person, a Caucasian person.
Yeah.
So the idea is you stand in front of the one that looks most like you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you progress around the Chapel of Sacred Mirrors, looking into each mirror as if it is a mirror of you.
Wow.
So you go around the series, and so you've got your skin level, then you go to the next one, you've got one that's all muscle, then there's one that's all like under that, the organs and stuff.
Yep.
And then there's like the lymph node system, I think.
Lymph node, yep.
And then your skeleton, and then it goes into like energetic ideas of what humans are. And he's got this, the last one is the universal mind lattice, which is where we're all like human.
So Alex Gray, is that correct? Is that the artist's name?
That's the artist's name, yeah.
Inspiration?
Huge inspiration.
Right. Yeah. Cool. What other artists do you sort of draw inspiration from?
I just have the rest of the Alex Gray story stuck in my head.
Let's go with that then. Let's get the rest of the Alex Gray story out. I felt, obviously, with the cameras having to be reset, because the listeners and the viewers won't know that we sort of shoot in blocks and then we sort of take a break. But let's hear the rest of the Alex Gray story.
Okay. Cool. So the idea is he has a chapel of sacred mirrors, and you go around the chapel, lowering yourself or maybe hiring yourself into the different levels of what it is to be a human.
Yep.
And at the very end, he has this one called the universal mind lattice, which is where we're all kind of looped in together as different energies. And I was super desperate to stand in front of these mirrors because I just thought it was such a cool concept, to have like a full length, thing.
Oh, so they're
full length, yeah.
Wow.
They're like a mirror.
Okay, yeah.
So you're standing in front of a full length mirror. Mm-hmm. And so I missed out on seeing his artwork for 2 weeks. Missed out by 2 weeks, and then jumped forward a few years. Mm-hmm. There was this really ugly door in my lounge, and I was like, do you know what? I'm going to paint the universal mind lattice on this door.
Oh, wow.
So it's a super, super, super simplified version of it.
Yeah.
But it was mind-blowing, and it's basically what my whole artwork is based around. Yeah. Well, at least that Sacred Seed series is because it's a super powerful image to stand in front of, this Taurus. And because it was a doorway as well, it taught me that not only can you use it to ground and meditate yourself, and that's just what it does. When you stand in front of it and intently look at it after about a minute and a half, you'll feel your whole body like drop and ground. It's really quite weird. But then also having it as a doorway to go into my bedroom, it it made me realize that you could use it as a tool to take people into a deeper space.
Yeah, it's very symbolic, isn't it?
It's very symbolic, yeah. And so I use that as a key part in my artwork to introduce people before they go into these sacred spaces, is that they go through different doorways, and one of them is the torus, which we encourage them to use as a meditation.
Yeah. What a cool concept, though, because you can have like doorway 1 exhibition artworks in there, then you can have a second doorway, and you can go through each, I don't know, what could theoretically be themed rooms.
We have done a little things like that, yeah.
That's very cool, though. What a great concept too.
And what's great is that you can these doorways are often just curtains which you hang up between 2 trees, and it don't really take much at all.
Yeah.
And then, they can have more elaborate ones like vaginas and stuff like that too. Which
nice.
We have done.
Again, very symbolic as well.
Indeed.
Sort of the birthing.
That's right.
The coming. Yeah. Very cool. Wow. So, having done all of that, and then having, I guess, transitioned to the admin segment where you're sort of now providing guidance and support for other artists, and you're getting these exhibitions ready, and obviously you did stuff there. Now, we were talking about that, the Zoom experiences.
Yeah.
I really want to know, because as someone who was stuck at home during lockdown, like the rest of New Zealand, how exactly do you make a artistic experience through Zoom?
You have some friends.
Yes.
Because you can't do it by yourself.
Yeah.
And you have a concept.
Mm-hmm.
The first one we developed, and we weren't the only people doing this. We had some friends in America, I think, who we knew through Burning Man as well.
Yeah.
And they were doing not similar things, but they were doing things online too, like creating parties, and they had like a hot tub party where everyone was in the bath and and like had a DJ playing while everyone was in their own individual bath. But they're a great crowd. They're called co-reality, those people. But we Jared, my husband, he had created this online Facebook event 7 years ago called Moon Burn. So a lot of the burns, they have a burn in their name.
Yes.
So Moon Burn. So we're going to go to the moon and have a burn. And for the last 7 years, every now and then, people in our mostly Burning Seed community, the Australian crew, were sharing memes about going to the moon, and it just slowly builds, as it does on Facebook. You see all these jokes. And
that attraction.
At in 2020, I think it was, we're like, oh, that's moonburns this year. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
And so we created this whole experience around going to the moon. So we had like scientific facts. Yeah. We had one of our friends in Australia, or a couple, they had created a soundscape and a meditation that took people to the moon. That's like part of the journey.
Yep.
We had stewards or like air flight hostesses that gave, very similar to being in a plane, but make sure that you've got your and so it's kind of like this interactive thing where people were in the Zoom call, but we were telling them what to do. Like, when we're going to take off, you had to make sure that you had a bottle of bubbles, some kind of bubbles,
right? Yeah.
That you could hold in your mouth, because that's going to make you start going out, and just kind of playing with it. It was a lot of fun. We did 2 or 3 sessions, and we had maybe 30 or 40 people over the time. Yeah,
that would have been amazing. Not even something I would have even thought of. I mean, how the brain comes up with ideas like that. There's thinking outside the box, and then there's that, because that's amazing.
Yeah, I think I was a cub leader that year, so I'd been running Zoom calls with the kids and working out how to do games with them through Zoom, and trying to engage 15 kids through Zoom. Yes. That took. That was really good skill to learn. Yep. And the one with going under the sea, that was focused on the nudibranchs, which are a type of sea slug. Okay. They're super psychedelic. They have amazing colours. They occur all around the world. And we wanted to raise awareness because they're kind of like canaries in the coal mine for the oceans. Oh. And so where you have healthy nudibranch populations, you have a healthy sea. Mm-hmm. And so we did this as part of Bloom Network, which is an organisation that I volunteer for. We're almost about to release our new website, which is kind of a little bit like Facebook, but with positive actions that have been happening around the world with regeneration.
Excellent.
And so for this call, I found 4 scientists around the world. So one in Spain, one in Canada, one in Indonesia, and one in Greece.
And this is for Cubs?
No. This is for Bloom Network.
This is for Bloom Network.
So these are the online things that I
Excellent.
create. So I found these
cool.
real life scientists.
Yep.
And one of them was there on the call. The rest of them, the time zone wasn't right. But they each of them recorded a video.
Yeah.
That was part of this call. And so to link all these different scientists together who are around the world, we pretended that we were in a submarine. So we had the same stewardesses and the same idea of like holding your breath when you go down.
Yep.
And then we had Jared, who was our digital person, who was putting on a picture of the submarine going up and the submarine going down and the music playing. And that's a big job, just doing all those cuts and making sure.
Absolutely, yeah, very much.
And that's the one which got filmed on spotlight view instead of having the grid view of our stewardesses.
Which is what we were talking about before,
So on Zoom, there is a setting. Do not film in spotlight, because it's very upsetting. So it was a very fun call, but it just doesn't work on a spotlight.
Yeah.
We even had a song made for that call.
Really?
Written for that call.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. And when the website's launched, people are going to be able to find that?
Oh, it's already on YouTube if you really want to watch it, but it's a bit painful because of the spotlight view.
It's fine. People will look for it. What's the channel? Is it?
It's on the Bloom Network channel. But it's if you type in Nudie Brank Bloom Network, BLOOM Network.
Okay. And how do you spell?
Oh, Nudie Brank.
There we go.
NUDI.
Yes.
And then Branch, BRANCH.
Okay.
But it's pronounced Brank.
Okay.
Because it's.
Sure.
I was going to say Scottish, but not Italian. Latin.
Okay. Yep. So Nudie Brank. Nudie Brank Bloom Network on YouTube.
Yep.
And people find it, and we'll put that as a graphic.
You'll see me dressed up as a air hostess or a submarine hostess, and you'll be going up and down.
That'll be, why not?
It was a lot of fun.
That'll be very cool.
Took a lot of time, obviously, to coordinate all those people and get the videos. But yeah, it was great.
That's cool. You've mentioned a couple of times burning.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. What is a burn or burning for those people that are watching or listening that don't? They go, is that like, do we burn shit down? What do we do?
Well, I mean, burning something is part of Burning Man.
Okay.
But it's a bit bigger than that. It's essentially it's a community of people that are united together by a set of 10 principles, and art and music and a little bit of spirituality. But like a burn, the burns around the world, they have a big split in population. So you have some hippies and some, there's like all the subsets in the community that you have in real life are at a burn as well. It started in America and it's been around for about almost 40 years. And the idea behind it is that it's a camping weekend where you bring lots of art and you're able to show up and be your authentic self. There's lots of ways that people do that. A lot of that is in self-expression, where they're wearing different costumes. And one of the important principles of a burn is gifting, and decommodification. So there's nothing for sale at a burn apart from ice.
Apart from ice.
Right, and not ice, what you spoke, but ice to keep your food cold, because we want to be hygienic.
Yes.
And they do provide toilets, but apart from that, you're expected to bring all your stuff that you need to survive.
Yeah.
Plus, including your water. And at Burning Man in Nevada, you take your grey water home. You don't dump it.
Right.
On what they call the playa, because it's not dirt or sand. It's like talcum powder. And so when you wet that, it turns into this really cementy sludge.
I think for me and possibly some of the audience, you have this image of Burning Man, and you have these big spires or effigies that are burnt in the desert, and it's quite a celebrity sort of.
It's a real shame it's got that whole Instagram vibe thing going.
It does.
And certainly, Burning Man is big and beautiful. There's 80,000 people that go to that event.
Yeah,
which
huge.
is just finished. And there are things that burn there, and they do that for, it's kind of like a ritualistic purpose.
Okay.
Where they're kind of letting things go. The most burns around the world. So there's the big Burning Man, which is the 80,000 one, the one that you see all the beautiful pictures of.
Yep.
But there are burns all around the world, and not in most countries, but you could, before COVID, go to a burn every weekend if you wanted to.
Oh, wow.
And they're called regionals. We have a couple in New Zealand as well, and that's where I've been to a lot as well. But the reason why people, they go there, they think it's going to be this big party, and it is, but the reason why they come back is because they get the sense of community that they don't get in the real world.
Yeah, sure.
And they get to express themselves in ways that they don't get to do in the real world. And for me, the appeal for me is that I get to experiment with projects that I would never be able to do in the real world. So going back to the Taurus that I painted on the door. When I realized how amazing this was, I really wanted to know if people felt the same as me. So I painted it onto a piece of fabric, and I took it to my first burn.
Excellent.
And I used it as the doorway to come into our tea lounge.
Okay.
And so as people came to visit our tea lounge, where we're giving away tea and biscuits for free, that I got them to use this doorway as a meditation before they go in, and then ask them about it later on to see if they felt anything. Yeah. And they definitely did. And so I was like, okay, there's something in this. And so I started to build this art installation around it.
Very cool.
So it's going back to, so a burn allows you to play with, experiment with stuff that you just don't normally get to, and test ideas.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of the appeal of going to them.
Is it all fire-based?
No.
Okay.
And some burns, like the San Diego burn that I've been to, I was invited there to be an artist.
Wow.
They don't burn at all.
Okay.
Because it's during their fire season.
Oh yeah, that's not a good thing.
And so and the fire season's getting larger and larger as climate change continues. So we're getting pushed more and more, later. So we will be starting a Northland burn, and that's going to be like late April.
Okay, so I was just about to ask that. So there's the New Zealand burn, and my question following that would be: is there going to be a Northland burn? Which you've obviously just answered.
Just drop that bomb.
Just drop it in there.
So the New Zealand burn, called Kiwi Burn, is the longest running burn outside of the States.
Wow, okay.
So New Zealanders were the first people around the world to pick this idea up and do it in their home country. And it's not that these events, they don't, there are other transformational festivals, but because we're linked to this international community, there's something in that, I guess. Yeah. And there's definitely lots of critiques around the model and stuff like that, but when we start ours in Northland, we're very conscious of some of those critiques and want to, push, like Burn 2.0, like push it further.
Right.
So some of our ticket money is going to be going towards regenerative projects, and we'll have plantings happening while we're at the event. So it's not going to be so pleasure focused, I guess. We'll do some work as well.
What was the inspiration to actually bring it to Northland? Because obviously you've got the New Zealand one, which is kind of I'm guessing the Mecca one that everyone goes to. What made the
why do it up here?
Thank you. Why do it up here? Yeah.
It's a great question and very, very easy to answer.
Good.
Kiwi Burn now is so popular it sells out in 3 seconds.
3 seconds?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Now, part of that is because not all the tickets of the people going are on sale. Right. Because a huge part of the burn and a really important part of it is that no one gets paid to run the event.
Sure.
Well, except I think maybe at the Kiwi Burn level they do pay a director, but the idea is that it's the whole city is built by volunteers.
Okay.
We all pay to go and we all play, and so it's very much a kind of duocracy. Like everyone's contributing and doing stuff together.
Yep.
So only half the tickets are actually put on sale for your general punters, although theme camps still have to do that whole lottery thing. Theme camps is a subsection of a burn that's very important
too. Yep.
So Kiwi Burn sells out in 3 seconds, and it's also 10 hours drive non-stop from Whangarei.
Where is it held?
So it's held in Hunterville, which is 2 hours north of Wellington.
Now,
an hour away from Palmerston North.
Yeah, that's an hour north like sort of past Bulls.
Yeah, it's an hour north of Palmerston North. Yeah,
cool.
And maybe 40 minutes south of Taihape.
I know exactly where you are. Okay, cool.
So it's a long way, and it's really inaccessible for us in Northland in terms of cost. Obviously, petrol keeps going up, but also the amount of time that it takes to get there. You have to take an additional 2 to 4 days off work to be able to attend a 5-day event, or 7 days if you're there to set up artwork.
Yeah, because so if you've got like a 7-day event and then 4 days either side, that's essentially...
Or 2 days either side.
2 days either side. It's
a lot of time.
It's essentially 2 weeks off.
Yeah.
You know, and then... I'll throw this question out. Having brought it to Northland, does that then encourage Aucklanders to migrate up towards us? Well, no, I don't say that in a negative connotation, but I say that in a way of, is it something to bring people that it comes in even from Auckland? That's still
a long way,
still 7 hours,
and we're still we're going to be north of Whangarei, so it is further for the Aucklanders to drive. Yes, Aucklanders will definitely be coming. A lot of our friends who run theme camps from Auckland.
Yeah.
My theme camp from Kiwi Burn are mostly Auckland-based.
Okay.
So just to quickly say what a theme camp is, it's a group of friends that get together, they decide on a theme, and then they bring the gifts around that theme. And they have a decorated camp that is along that theme, and there's usually something to interact with. Okay. So my Kiwi Burn theme camp, we've changed. We used to be Pepperland, based on the Beatles, and now we are barista cats, and we serve coffee, and we have human cats, and you can pet the cats at the cat cafe.
Oh, wow.
So no real animals are allowed at a burn, but we have lots of volunteers that are happy to dress up as cats and get patted.
Oh, that's very cool.
As they're served coffees. So those guys will definitely be coming up for it, assuming they have the spoons. And then, we welcome those creative people to
that's very cool. And do you guys sort of have a rough idea where it's going to be?
We do, but we're not going to
share it just yet. Very cool.
One of the interesting things about burns around the world is that if you do it right, it really does bring some economy into the local areas.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in fact, the burn that developed in the Perth area, they actually created a business plan and went to a number of the city or district councils that were in their general area, and then pitched it to them and asked, who has a piece of land that we can use. And they ended up going to this really awesome race course that has toilets and water, and that's not normally what you get at a burn, but it is super convenient.
I know, just all the amenities right there.
And super beautiful spot. Yeah. So it really does benefit some towns.
Well, hopefully it does the same thing. And again, it would be one of those really nice things to sort of add into the Northland calendar. We talked about Fringe Festival before. That's kind of a bit of a beacon for artistic people coming in. So something like that will also have hopefully big benefits as well. Because what else with the Fritter Festival? If that gets back up and running again, I don't know if that's been.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. But all of those sorts of cool yearly events that you get different people coming in, because an influx of people will traditionally bring an influx of additional money that's spent in the region as well. So hopefully that goes really well. That'd be cool.
Yeah, we'll be starting small and then work our way up to larger populations.
Yeah.
But it's
unless
very
it gets super popular really quick.
Well, you need to have the volunteer effort, because of course no one gets paid, and we keep the ticket prices down really low, so it's accessible for people, but it does rely on that volunteer population.
Okay, so obviously I'm not going to get ahead of where you guys are at the moment, but let's say I was going to go to a Kiwi Burn.
Yes. Oh, you've missed out, sorry.
Oh, no, damn it. Maybe
because
next year.
They have a lottery for Kiwi Burn, and you've got to register your profile by yesterday in order to get into the lottery.
How much would tickets be for a Kiwi Burn?
I think Kiwi Burn's 200.
Okay, but that's not for one day. That's for...
That's 5... Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So 5 nights.
That's 5. And you kind of you go there and you take your tent and your themes.
You take everything
right,
as if there was going to be no one else there.
Okay.
And then there's like 1,000 people there. or 2,000, I think. Kiwi
Wow.
Burns. Yeah.
Okay. Man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And, for 5 days, festivities and activities that you kind of all create and you collaborate with other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
Lots
actually
of collaboration.
That's actually really reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, you get so much out. You basically get what you put into it. You get more out of it.
Yeah.
So the more you volunteer, the more fun you have, because you meet people who are also volunteering with you, and you just continue to have these connective experiences.
Yeah.
And it's also quite brutal as well, because it can be very hot, and you're staying up really late at night.
Yeah.
And we're lucky at Kiwi Burn because we have a river that you can swim in, which is very unusual.
Yes.
But we love it. And so you get that community connective experience a lot as you put more into it. And then you get to see the artwork that people create. And some of it does get burned down. Yeah.
Northland Artists Conversation is proud to support 116. 116 are located on Bank Street in Whangarei, and an amazing venue that you can actually hire. If you're looking to hold an event or looking to hire a venue for a special occasion, 116 on Bank Street are an absolutely fantastic place. You can simply contact them via email off their website or through Facebook as well. 116 have had such amazing events in the past as the Whangarei Fringe Festival, and they've also held the Plunge Pop Culture Convention there as well. They also have local artists that also put performances on, as well as incoming artists that come into the region as well and want to be able to do things like have plays or perform music or any of those sorts of cool things. 116 are also home to the amazing Beagle radio station as well, which is a local initiative that is all set up with some very, very talented people that actually love what they do, and they do it all for free. So it's very, very cool. So 116 on Bank Street, proudly supported by the Northland Artists Conversation. So you've obviously... I'm going to get my microphone up closer to my mouth. So we've got the... Is it going to be like the Northland Burn? Is that
That's what we're calling it at the moment. But no, we don't want to call it that.
Okay.
It's a bit lame.
But we were just talking, and there is another version that you've got, the Whangarei...
The Whangarei Nightlights.
Whangarei Nightlights. No, I know. I've seen it advertised, but I don't really know a lot about it. Care to share?
I would love to share.
Yay!
So one of the outworkings of Burning Man is the idea is that you get really inspired by the stuff that you see there, and then you bring that back into your community and liven up your community with the skills that you've learned.
Yep.
So the Whangarei Nightlights is a culmination of a bunch of burners and some people who haven't been to them as well, but we've all got together and we created an event for the community. Last year it was smaller, and COVID obviously restricted that as well.
Yeah, it did.
This year we had a great group of people who all worked together to create this event. So it was down at the Quarry Arts Centre.
Yes.
But we were hiring the Quarry Arts Centre as a venue.
Oh,
so it wasn't put on by the Quarry Arts Centre. I just happened to work there.
Happened to be there, yep.
And so, it was a 3-day event. We ended up having about 3,000 people through over those 3 days. And there were fire performers, there was burning artwork, there was other light installations, lots of different light installations, a couple of UV spaces, performers outside, all kinds of things, and all these things you would see at a burn.
Yeah.
And we turned it into a community event where people could walk around as a self-guided tour and see the art and everything.
Is this something that's going to become a long-term, like something that people can go, cool, and then just mark it in their calendar?
Yeah, as long as we have the support from all the people who helped us.
Yeah.
Because it's a big job to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And a Burning Man event in general doesn't make money to make money. It's like,
Yep.
it's not a money making event.
Yep.
But this event was geared more to make a bit of money so that we could pay the performers. Because
Right,
normally at a burn you don't get paid.
Yep.
Everything's volunteer. But we want to recognise that our artists are working their butts off, and no one's going to do that for 3 nights in a row just for the fun of it. And
They might do if the passion's there. Yeah.
they might, but it's way more fun with lots of people, and you know that you're getting a little bit. It's not a huge amount, but a little bit in your pocket as well. And then the extra profit that we got from that will be turned into art grants, so that people who want to make art to bring to the next event will then be able to get a bit of seed money to get that going, and so it continues to feed back
Becomes
into the community.
self-sustaining.
Yeah.
That's very
And
cool.
the food vendors that we had at Whangarei Nightlights were all vendors that were raising money for kids' projects. So we had Karma Intermediate there.
Yep.
We had I Have a Dream were there.
Oh, yes.
And other community organisations that were raising money. So it's that same idea of that we're feeding back into the community, giving back all this love into the community, and keep it cycling around.
How very cool. Because, I mean, you don't often hear of events like that, which I think is really nice. I mean, it's... I think as we were talking before, you've got the, your different kind of more, I don't really want to say corporate, but your sort of other marquee events that they have throughout the year, and this one is a bit more of the people, by the people, for the people.
Yeah, it's not sponsored. There's no big names or anything like that.
Right, so it's not going to be Vodafone presents.
No.
Anything like that. Okay,
No.
right.
That's that kind of decommodification principle that we have as burners.
Which we talked about before, yeah.
They're very strict on it.
Yeah, okay. So that's been and gone. When did that happen?
That was in the July school holidays.
Right. So then my next question will be, what's coming up for you?
What's coming up? Well, there's the Fringe, which is very exciting.
Fringe. Oh, can't wait.
Super happy to be getting involved in some of the rainbow events that are happening there. We have Jungle Fever, which is happening at the Quarry Arts Centre, which is like a boogaloo jungle kind of music night. And if you buy pizza, you'll be raising money for the Quarry Arts Centre.
Oh, cool.
Me and Jared will be on the ovens there.
Excellent.
And then also we open a week before Fringe, but during Fringe and then 2 weeks after that is an exhibition called the Open Ceramics Awards, or the Quarry Ceramics Awards.
Yes.
The Quarry Ceramic Awards is an open ceramic award, so that's why I got a bit confused there. We just changed the name this year. But the idea of open in ceramics is that anything goes. So it can be a vessel, it can be a sculpture, it's all kinds of different things.
Okay.
And so it's a national competition where people from all around the country can submit pieces.
Yep.
Then the judges select the pieces that will go through to the exhibition round.
Brilliant.
So that first one is through pictures. And then, so I currently have waiting with me 46 pieces from around the country.
Wow.
As far as Dunedin. And a lot of Whangarei and Auckland artists, of course. And they're all vying for we have a youth award, which is sponsored by Creative Northland. Thank you, Creative Northland.
Creative Northland are amazing.
And then we have the top prize of the Open Ceramic Award, which is $2,000 cash prize and a $400 Primo clay voucher. So Deco Pots is another big sponsor this year.
When we had Wendy Cunliffe on, and she was obviously her pottery, and she did the terracotta army. She was enlightening me about all the different types of clay, and I felt stupid. She was like, "There's paper clay," and I was like, "What is that?" And she goes, "Where there's paper in the clay." And I was like,
I love paper clay.
That makes sense. But yeah, wow, that's really cool. That's really cool. So submissions are closed now?
Oh yeah, we open next week.
Right. Okay. Right.
So yeah, it'd be great if people come down. Everything's for sale.
Yes.
So you can take things home, not on the day, but when the exhibition's closed.
Yep.
You can have an amazing gift for a friend, totally unique from somewhere around the country.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good show. There's some very cool pieces.
Yeah, and is that kind of one of the marquee pieces in the Fringe Festival?
It's marked in there, yes.
Yeah, nice.
And then we're also doing a gallery open night with Megan Dickinson with The Journey and Shutter Room.
Yes.
On the second Friday, so not opening Friday, but the Friday after that.
Yep.
All the galleries will be open late, and there's going to be a roaming tour that takes you around to the different galleries.
Really?
Yeah,
so you can actually just go for a bit of a wander.
Yep.
Oh, that's a good way to get your steps in.
It is.
Yes.
You have to walk from town up to the quarry and back again. So it's not too far.
That's amazing. And sort of beyond the Fringe Festival, have you yourself got anything? I mean, you've obviously got these little projects that you're working on.
Yes. Yeah, little projects here and there. I'm almost at the stage of being able to make art again, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
So I'm making a few pieces for the summer season. And next year we're going to have a Quarry Arts past and present staff quarry exhibition. So
what is that?
So all the past and present staff of the Quarry Art Centre will be invited to put in a piece for a group exhibition.
Oh,
so
wow.
I haven't made anything that I would consider exhibition worthy, like exhibition gallery room worthy, because I make stuff that's really robust that goes to festivals and is really big.
Yep.
So I have a couple of ideas in mind for making some artwork for that. That's going to be very intricate and
very
ornate.
Cool.
So
nice.
Hopefully that comes off.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Hannah, thank you so much for coming in and just enlightening me and the people that are watch and listen the podcast. It's one of the reasons we do this is to learn more about the artist, but also to hear their story and to learn stuff. And today has been a very steep learning curve for me, where there's a whole bunch of stuff that I was like, ooh, and I've certainly felt, a little bit dumb in places, but that's okay. We all go on a journey of learning. So thank you very much for coming in and sharing. I really do appreciate it. It's been absolutely fascinating sitting down and talking with you.
Thank you so much. It's been fun
Amazing.
Having a chat.
Thank you. Wow, Hannah Mitchell, my goodness. Such a passionate artist who talks about the wider range of disciplines that she has. And she is just super cool as well. Just hearing her talk with passion going on from when she did her very first art piece, which was on a bit of fabric to send to friends in the States, all the way through to what she's doing now, which is, I guess the big thing for her is working on they're not calling it the Northland Burn, but working on doing a Northland version of Kiwi Burn, or the original Burning Man, which is in Nevada in America. So really, really cool. I'm so looking forward to seeing how that pans out. I think that's going to be absolutely amazing. It was just one of those conversations that I learnt so much about. She talks about her inspirations. Alex Gray, for me, is amazing because he is the artist that did all of the Tool artwork. I did not know that. And Rockie, my editor, a fountain of knowledge, dropped that little nugget of goodness kind of in between some recording pieces. So, man, really huge. So I'm going to go back and have a look at my Lateralis CD, because that's really cool. So where can people find the Northland Artists Conversation? Where can people hear about the amazing Hannah Mitchell? Well, Andrew would normally do this part, but again, Andrew's been busy. So I'm going to have another crack at this, Andrew. Hopefully I get it right. So, for visuals, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, Northland Artists Conversation. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts are all, again, Northland Artists Conversation. And if you are an artist who is in the Northland region and we don't know about you, we would love to hear from you. So please feel free to reach out to us at hello@northlandartistsconversation.co.nz. Now, if you have been listening to us for either a little while or you're just joining us, welcome. We also have a Patreon page. Now, a Patreon page is where you can give back to the work that we're doing here and to really support us and continue to make sure that we grow. We have 2 tiers. The first tier I've affectionately called Cup of Coffee, and that's $5 a month. Not a lot, $5, pretty minimal. The second tier we have is what I've lovingly called Coffee Addict. Now that's $20 a month, but that gives you a few extra perks that the $5 a month tier doesn't get. So if you're interested in supporting us in that way, it is patreon.com/Northland Artists Conversation. And the amazing news, as of today, now we're recording this the 15th of September, we have had our very first patron. So thank you very much. Really do appreciate it. I give a big shout out to Lauren Roach, who is officially the first Patreon that the Northland Artists Conversation has had. So thank you, Lauren. Really appreciate it. And if you donate at the $20 level as well, we'll also give you a shout out too. Why? Because we love being supported, and we thank you for supporting us as well. It's going to be an interesting week. We've got some amazing artists. Man, I really do say that a lot, but we are so blessed and so lucky to have all of these super talented people just come out of the woodwork. They might hear a podcast, they might get referred from a friend, and they just want to get involved. There's real value in what we're doing, and I love being able to share this with everyone that supports what we do. Facebook, give us a thumbs up or a love heart. YouTube, like, share, subscribe, leave us a comment. I love reading all the comments that come through. They're very, very cool. But on that high note, everyone, I'm going to throw whoosh to the wide. Thank you very much for either listening to us or watching us. And if you're a long-time listener or viewer, thank you for your continued support. And if you're new, thank you very much. We hope you stick around for more. My name is Mark Kelly. This wonderful goodness is the Northland Artists Conversation, and I'll see you guys real soon.